So you studied psychology in uni, right?
I did study psychology.
How did you get here?
Somebody did their research. Yes, I think my approach towards life has always been the path of finding what works best for me. So at uni, I went there because I wanted to be a lawyer, because growing up, there's only 5 jobs that don't make you a family disappointment. So it was either doctor, teacher, lawyer, or pastor, or family disappointment. I started designing while I was at Unza. I would dodge classes to design posters for Unzasu hopefuls. That's what I spent my uni doing. 3rd year, 4th year, most of it was just me designing for Chi Alpha and whoever needed designs for free.
No, you're just designing for
free. I just loved
how much you loved it.
I just loved Photoshop. Like solving problems in Photoshop, you were learning something new almost every day. So yeah, I did study psychology, but don't ask me any psychology questions. Don't ask me to be a therapist. You will have mad trauma when you're done with me. I tell you that.
You're a motion designer, you're a graphic designer, you do videos as well, all those things. How do you keep evolving and how do you stay updated?
Jealousy.
I'm not
even gonna lie. No, it's I know what makes me tick. It's jealousy. I don't like it when people are doing things better than me. So I have this thing of when I see someone do something really cool, I have what I call the how hard can it be gene. So I'm like whatever I'm looking at, I'm constantly asking myself, how hard can that be? And it's not like a bad jealousy where I'll be hating on you, bad mouthing. No, it's just like I will even call you. Niza knows this. Every time he's done something good, I've called him and I say, I hate you so much. How dare you? How dare you make something better than what I could have thought of?
So now let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Yes.
In the room.
Yes.
AI.
I'm about to be really controversial. AI isn't just coming after us as designers. It's coming after photographers. That's number one. If your job is something repetitive and can be done with instructions from another person, and your thoughts do not matter to the final project of it, if you're not getting paid for your thoughts and how they shape something, then yes, AI will replace you 100%. But if your thoughts contribute to the overall existence of certain projects, activities, or artwork, then you have a bit of time.
What's up, man?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. How you doing?
Good to finally have you here.
It's good to be here, to be honest. Been following your journey, and I was just like, one day I'll be on that podcast, and here we are.
Here we are.
Dreams come true.
Definitely. Yeah. No, amazing, man. I'm the one who should be saying that I'm glad to see, because I started following your work first, and I've been looking up to you. Of course, in the background, you have many fans. So
no, I
was one of those people who were looking up to you. And I think you're the one who introduced me, made me know about Kangombanga.
Of course.
Bastard.
Of course. Look, there's only one person I will only ever glaze openly, and I'm putting it out there. It doesn't matter what the situation is. Kangwa has just shown that there's a different way. For me, Kangwa was the first person who showed me you can just decide to make this a thing and let it feed you for as long as you want it to feed you. And for me, that was so eye-opening that he has always held that space in my head and my heart as well. That whatever it is you are good at, whatever it is you're interested in, if you decide to pursue that and decide you just want that to feed you, then it's gonna feed you. And for me, that's why Kangwa, Kangwa, the GOAT.
Yeah. I want him next.
I mean,
can you invite him for me?
Boss. Yes. Boss, as your greatest evangelist, this is your official invitation to this show. Please.
Please.
I would like to watch your episode.
I'll personally send you this video.
Yes.
Yeah, man, I'm glad to have you here. I mean, I've looked up to you guys and I've been really motivated. When I was back in uni, I yeah, I was just like stuck. I was studying what I didn't want to study.
What were you studying in uni?
Information systems.
Okay, that's useful. That's still useful.
Yeah. But I was looking up to. I wanted like someone to look up to. That I can look up to. Oh, they're doing it in the creative field.
I see.
That's what I always wanted.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Seeing like people in my country who are like doing big, like their work is fantastic, international. Like you are the guys that I look up to and always look up to, and yeah.
I'm bad
it's amazing too.
if this is what this is going to be like, it's just going to be me blushing like, boss. No, but I do appreciate that in that it was also like having that was the biggest thing for me as well. In that I think you also if at some point were part of the Zambia graphic designers group on Facebook. Yeah. So when I started out in design, it was just me and my roommate in third year, Unza. And at the time, he was just like, oh yeah, there's this thing called Photoshop. And it just, you edit your pictures in it. And I was just like, okay, edit your pictures. I don't really have a lot of interest in that. But the importance of having a mentor is you have a roadmap with which you can follow. So when I saw Kangwa for the first time in the Zambia graphic designers group, and he posts very rarely.
No,
but when he posts
these days.
these days, there was a time when we were blessed enough to have his presence. I remember it was for a magazine poster. I had done a magazine poster. And you know how it is when you're just starting out as a designer. Whatever you make is gold. So I post up my magazine, and it's still up there. You can check it. I post the magazine. I had gotten like some Nigerian model, put it on there, put some issue stuff, and then I got this guy writing comments like he knew better than me. And I was like, what the hell is this guy? What are you talking about? And I think he caught it in the response I gave him. It wasn't disrespectful, but I think he caught it on just like, I know what I'm talking about. So he uploaded one of his, and it was this beautiful magazine poster. And it took me a moment to be like, whoa.
Let me show you, kid.
Okay, this is amazing. And it was like a woman, and she was like, you could see the baby inside her pregnancy. It was a pregnant woman with a baby. You could see the like an X-ray of sorts. It was the first time I saw double exposure on an image. The colors. And I was just like, wow, this is amazing. And that was the first time I got exposed to Kangwa. Never since then, I was just like, I will listen to whatever he says, and I will follow what he does. And after looking at him, seeing what he was capable of, I said to myself, this is the perfect model for what I want to do, because I've always wanted to, when I started out in design, which started as just I can do this and I want to be a part of a community that's bigger than me so that I can learn. The thing that I then molded myself after Kangwa was I saw that he can design. He's very creative with 3D. He can direct a photo shoot. He can direct a video shoot. And I was like, I want to be that guy. I want to be Kangwa. And to this day, my career has grown from my attempts to become Kangwa. And in doing that, somehow, it turns out I have also become Mapaalo. I've also become Mapaalo in my attempts to become Kangwa. And it's been a very wonderful experience. And I've met him. I've worked with him on a few projects which have been like amazing. Every time I interact with him, I learn something brand new. And because he thinks similarly to how I think, in that while in your attempt to make something look good, shouldn't be putting in like that, and that might not be what you usually go for, but that's the vibe that I get. Is Kangwa goes for, in my attempt to make it look good, I shouldn't be working like that hard. There's a certain like almost effortlessness about how he does it, in that he practices a lot, he consumes a lot. So when it's time to generate artwork, you know how we usually go to Pinterest to like build his Pinterest. He's been on Pinterest on Behance long enough that when he's gathering the pieces, it's already happening up here, and that's what I've been trying to do. So I've been trying to follow. I've been following Kangwa, and have pretty much molded my entire career after him. And that's the main importance of just like mentors and stuff, having someone that you look up to. And that's what I was saying, like, it's nice that you guys had a lot more around, because at the time, for me, it was just Kangwa.
Yeah.
It was just Kangwa. I got to learn about other designers from his time, but back then, I don't think Behance and socials were
that much.
a marketing thing that you can use to get business. Back then, you just post on social media so that other designers can see your work and praise you. But now it's a marketing tool, so you have a lot more people to like look up to and like follow, the Joshes and whatnot. And I'll be name dropping a lot of people, by the way, on this, because a lot of people have been instrumental in putting me here where I am today. Yeah.
No, that's really important. I mean, you can't grow alone, and
exactly.
You're not like living in a cave or something. Yeah, and so that time it was like really important for me to have like people to look up to.
Yeah.
I've been in his inbox before. I think I made a video about him, just trying to break down his project that he did for Zambezi Magic, and I made a video about it. Yeah, and I texted him to say. Then he was like, "I love your work too, man." And that was really important. But we've never like met or communicated on phone, but he responded to my messages, and that's really inspiring.
And it's so cool when somebody look up to respond. It's just like,
I think he was commented on my BS project. I was like, this is really cool, man. Minimalism. Yeah. So. Yeah, Kangwa.
No, he's a legend. You're a legend for that. Like, appreciate you, man.
And also speaking to, because I also like, I'm interested like almost everything. Motion design, graphic design, video editing, 3D. Like, he was also like a perfect model for me.
Exactly.
Because he does all those things perfectly.
Yeah.
And it looks very effortless.
Yes.
I don't just know like what touch he adds to all his designs.
That's what I've been chasing too. That touch, that finish that he puts on his stuff.
I don't know.
The moment I unlock that, I might even stop designing, to be honest, because I'll be like, okay, I finally found the key to this thing. I'm good. We're good. Let's go try politics or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, I love his work. Anyway, we've talked about Kangwa so much.
No, that will probably be most of the podcast, just me talking about all the different people. Because for me, it's my journey has just been who touched my life when. And like if we're looking at my career, how like I progressed in my career. My first job was literally a recommendation from Joshua, who vouched for me. Josh Vumba. Yeah. Another legend.
Yeah, Joshua,
he vouched for me where he was working at the time. And he was just like, no, guy is a decent guy. Give him a chance. And I was given a chance. And I don't think without that chance, I would have learned how to do design for corporates. Because before then, even my interview flyer was roasted to hell. Because the boss who was there was like, I don't know why you would put a hot air balloon on an event flyer, which won't have hot air balloons. So, that design thinking was not something I had at the time. But thanks to working there, I was able to now develop what does the client want and how can my design solve that problem. And I got to learn social media management and just basic design like for client stuff. That's the basic stuff. Client will bring in a brief, you respond to that brief with a design, and then either they like it, they don't like it, and you proceed from there. And from there, I went on to move to work at a publishing company, which then is where I learned to like, at the time, we didn't have Open Window University. So everything I learned was on the job when the job came in. Yeah. So I was working at a publishing company, and the first thing that like threw me off was I was told to design an advertorial. And at the time, I'd never heard of what an advertorial is. What is that? How does it work? Luckily, the boss was there. She was very, very helpful. She was patient. She was very patient with me. I showed, I guess, enough excitement for the job that she would sit down with me and just be like, oh, no, this is how you do this, is how you do it. So she showed me how to do the advertorial. She did a good amount of the work, to be honest. And after that, I knew how to make an advertorial. And from there, moved on to Black Dot, where I then joined as a junior graphic designer. rose up in the ranks, up to art director. And then there was an opportunity to become a social media, like a communications specialist at an NGO, where I worked for about 9 months before I was like, okay, like the communications stuff, like I like making stuff. I actually enjoy the process of this is the desire from a person. They want a flyer, they want something, and there's nothing at the time that they ask for it. And then I get involved, and by the time I'm done, there's a logo, there's a flyer, there's a roadmap for how they are going to execute on something. And when I was working as a communication specialist, while I was solving problems, none of them felt real because half of them would be resolved by just getting a bunch of people, putting them in a room and agreeing on something. That's the job, it's done. And I felt a bit bored by that. So when Black Dot came back and they were like, hey, we have room for you if you'd like to come back, I was eager. I was more than happy to jump back on, because I was just like, finally I can get back to like solving problems for big businesses in the manner that I feel most like the most purpose from. And that's how then I was there, rose through the ranks again, became a senior art director, which had me oversee teams and projects from beginning to conclusion. Luckily, a lot of the learning I got from being a communications specialist ended up helping me a lot in the process, because I also then understood the importance of coordinating departments or having teams of people who are interested in a project together to make sure that everyone is on the same page. Because one of the biggest things that we struggle with as designers is usually when you're designing something, you don't know if you're talking to the decision maker or the person with the decision maker sense.
Oh, yeah.
So from my experience as a communication specialist, I began to know when I'm talking to someone, I will know whether I'm talking to the decision maker or the person that the decision maker sends. Because there are certain questions that a decision maker can answer and certain questions that a person who's just been sent can't answer. And understanding who's who will help you with a lot of the frustrations that come with the design. Because when you're dealing with someone who's not the decision maker, they can say yes to something, but the person who makes the decision.
Yeah, that's always difficult.
Yeah.
Especially if there's a person in between, middleman.
Yes.
It's really difficult.
Yeah. And so that's how those skills ended up helping me quite a lot. Obviously, during this time, I established Stormbox Media, because the first place I worked at, I got fired. And during the month when I wasn't working, I was like, I need to have my own thing, because I will never go, at least for the time being, I don't see myself getting fired from a business that I started. I mean, it will be possible someday, shareholders, if you're watching this. It will be possible at some point. But I just was like, I need to go to a place where I can't get fired. And I established Stormbox in 2015. It was 2014 going into 2015, that December. That's when I established it, and I was working as a freelancer in the background, learning other things, how to manage clients, projects, how to expand the business, how to grow a business. And Stormbox grew quite a lot, and a lot of it is thanks to my business partner George Lupali, who in 2020 we got together and incorporated the business, and it, with his help, because I was working a 9 to 5, there are certain things I couldn't do, but he was like more on the freelance side. So he would meet up with clients and basically did the heavy lifting of making keeping the business alive until it was able to like fend for itself, while I was like focusing on getting more skills, being exposed to the industry, learning how to network with people and stuff like that. And together we've been able to build it to a point where we're supporting 2 very, very large clients. And because of it, I was able to look at my job where I was working at Stormbox as a senior art director, and I was like, I think it's time where I can actually focus on my own business, because it has grown to the point where it is now telling me to say I can feed myself, but I can only go forward if you pay as much attention to me as your business partner is paying attention, because he's done a lot of work getting it to the point where it can walk and run on its own.
Yeah.
But I need you to be a bit more focused this time around. And I was like, okay, I hear you, because I was like, the kind of clients we've been able to secure with me only relying on the team to fill in whenever I am too busy to attend a meeting or to respond to something. I have to talk to someone on the team, say, oh, yo, bro, can you just quickly help sort this out for me? Once that was done, once I got the third client last year, I was like, okay, the business keeps communicating. It had been communicating as early as February last year, but because of the doubt that I had gotten from previous time I had tried to go freelance, I was very doubtful and very overly cautious.
Yeah.
So I ended up almost like missing out on the opportunity to break free from helping someone else achieve their dream, to then focus on my own. So I just let it keep operating. But then the call came again towards the end of last year, and I was like, okay, I think it's time to go. And so as of the recording of this video, it's been a month.
No, okay.
Yeah, it's been a month since I started focusing on Stormbox full time. Yeah.
No, good stuff, man. That's really encouraging. Yeah, and wishing you all the best, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna need that.
A lot of it.
Straight up, I'm gonna need that.
Yeah. So you studied psychology in uni, right?
I did study psychology.
How did you get here?
Somebody did their research. Yes. At uni, I think my approach towards life has always been the path of finding what works best for me. So at uni, I went there because I wanted to be a lawyer, because growing up, there's only 5 jobs that don't make you a family disappointment. So it was either doctor, teacher, lawyer, or pastor, or family disappointment. So I went to UNZA wanting to be a lawyer, realized that I don't like reading for academic purposes. Like, I'll read a fiction book. I have no problem reading a full-on fiction book. I'll read a book that explains how I can solve a specific problem, but I didn't like the idea of, to solve any case, I would have to read 50 cases that are similar, so that I can then get, that's how law works, is you're constantly looking back at what previous cases have happened, and then using the precedence of a previous case to then
try to solve
give a solution for a case that you're representing. So you'll be like, last time you gave him 15 years for a worse crime. My client has not done a crime like that. So the moment I realized that was the job, there's me and a friend of mine who sat down. Like, this friend I've been friends with since grade 8. Same with my business partner. We sat together and we're like, bro, we don't like reading for that. That's not us. That's
not for us.
That's not you and me. What are we going to do? So we looked at the remaining courses and we're like, psychology sounds interesting. Plus, I've always been fascinated by how the mind works. A lot of the things that I talk about when I'm online and stuff, it's constantly just, how do people think? Why do they think the way they think? And how do these things get established as a society? So psychology sounds interesting enough, and development studies sounded easy enough from my interactions with it in first year to be like, we'll make that our minor. And so I studied psychology for the time I was at UNZA, did enough because I started designing while I was at UNZA. So I would, Dad's gonna kill me. I would dodge classes to design posters for UNZASU hopefuls. So there were some people who were standing for the office of UNZASU, and I started designing their posters for them because I would see them around, and I would start looking at posters from America. I would look at political posters for, at the time it was Obama and stuff like that. I'd look at that and be like, okay, how do I apply that for these guys? Because that's the only way I know that my poster will stand out from the others, and I had to go to try and design for as many people as possible. And I pursued that as best as I can. And that's what I spent my uni doing. 3rd year, 4th year, most of it was just me designing for Chi Alpha and whoever needed designs for free.
Oh, you're just designing for
Just for free. I just
That's how
loved
much you loved it.
I just loved Photoshop. Like solving problems in Photoshop, you were learning something new almost every day. And I think I even started a music career just so I can be making album art for my music because of how much fun I was having. And that's so yeah, I did study psychology, but don't ask me any psychology questions. Don't ask me to be a therapist. You will have mad trauma when you're done with me. I'll tell you that.
That's incredible.
Yeah, but yes, I did study psychology.
But where do your parents stand?
They're happy. Hey, I'm putting food on the table. I can help them out when they say "Tumineko something." I think they don't mind. When I chose, because it was an actual choice, I had to choose. Because on the day that I was going to do an interview at Chainama for my papers, it was also the day I got a call to say you need to go and interview for a graphic design position. And even though I didn't have papers for design, I chose to go for the design interview over the Chainama one because my brain just felt really nice about the idea of, you remember how fun it was to design posters for people in Unza? You get to get paid for that. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, I'm going to do that. I just, like, at that point, I didn't see what I would be doing as a psychologist. Over time, because I'm a person who grew up in Africa, I eventually had to go to therapy, obviously. And through therapy when I was in therapy, was the first time I realized that, oh, I might have actually enjoyed the psychology aspect of it. Because I like helping people. But the design called to me. Even when I was in uni, it was just more exciting, more fun to do. And so it was a much easier decision for me to continue making because it was academics or design. And I always chose design. So even later when it was, do what you studied academically or do the fun thing you've been doing.
Yeah. I make money from it.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to do it.
You're a motion designer, you're a graphic designer, you do videos as well. All those things. Like, how do you keep evolving and how do you stay updated?
Jealousy.
I'm
not even going to lie. No, it's... I know what makes me tick. It's jealousy. I don't like it when people are doing things better than me. So I have this thing of when I see someone do something really cool, I have what I call the how hard can it be gene. So I'm like whatever I'm looking at, I'm constantly asking myself, how hard can that be? So that gene plus my jealousy of just when I see someone doing something really good, and it doesn't matter whether we're friends or not. And it's not like a bad jealousy where I'll be hating on you, talking bad mouthing. It's just like I will even call you. Niza knows this. Niza, every time he's done something good, I've called him and say, I hate you so much. How dare you? How dare you make something better than what I could have thought of? And that's what has kept me just slowly. But also the work, the jobs I do constantly present new problems. So the interest took me to learning music and static design. That's where my interests took me, and a little bit into 3D design. But things like videography, motion design, social media management was a requirement at the first job I did, so that's how I learned how to do that. But videography and I'd say motion graphics were born out of jealousy. I was working with a very talented videographer and motion graphic artist who is very little known in the industry, called Ali Mugeni. And he's a beast. He's a beast, and he does it almost like Kangwa, where there's a certain effortlessness about it because he just consumes so much. being in the same space with him and seeing everything he used to do made me look at the little knowledge I knew, because I started video editing back before uni to edit like anime music videos. Yeah. So I'd be watching an anime I like, I'd edit it together. But then there was motion graphic aspect of it, which is just moving elements across the screen. And Ali was just so good at it. And over time, obviously I befriended him, let him know I was extremely jealous of his skills. And he was nice enough to teach me. And from there, I started offering myself while I was at work. Whenever he was too busy to do something, I would be like, hey, can I assist on this? And I took on a few motion projects, did well with them. Even at the workplace, the first place I worked, one of my tasks was to animate things in, so I guess it's not really but I think art is where I perfected it, because initially there was just the general interest of, oh, how hard can that be? Let me try. So one of my tasks was animating things in Keynote, which is the Apple version of PowerPoint for digital billboards. So they were like,
Keynote.
They were like, how many ads did I do during that time? I did like maybe 50, 60 ads. I did one for the Oktoberfest that happened in that year. I did motion graphics for that. I did motion graphics for a bunch of digital billboards, and from there I got a bit of confidence. But I first learned about After Effects when I was at Black Dot, and I was working with Ali, and I was like, this is the software. And I because of the how hard can it be gene, I learn things that I'm interested in very quickly, which I think is true for everyone. If you're interested in something, you just pick it up like that. So I learned it fairly quickly and was able to develop motion design skills. 3D, again, it's that interest of just how hard can it be to make 3D, like product photography stuff without needing a camera. And yeah, it's just a combination of interest and jealousy is what is why I have the skill set that I have. I did have the idea to want to be a one-man show, like an agency where it doesn't matter what the client wants, I'll be able to provide it.
Whatever you got.
Whatever you have, throw it at me, I've got it. But the real intrinsic motivation, that's a psychology term, the real intrinsic motivation is really just how hard can it be, plus a little bit of how dare he do that? Why what's stopping me from doing that? So let me break down the process of him doing it, so that if I'm ever in a situation where I have to do this, I won't say, no, call that guy. I'll be able to say, no, I got it. So that's where the skill sets have come together to then give me this level of control over whatever project that is thrown at me.
I can really relate to that because I learned Photoshop for my first job. So my first software that I learned was Illustrator. That was the first software that I learned because I had a friend in uni, like he was also like making beats and all that, but he had Illustrator. I was like, this is an interesting tool.
What are you doing with this?
Yeah, what are you doing with this? Then I became so interested. I remember like going to classes where, I wouldn't be so much interested in it. And then using this software, just learning, go to YouTube and learning how to use it and all that. Then Photoshop, I was really scared of it when I looked at the interface. It was really
Photoshop is a daunting one when you start, because you don't even know that layers is a thing at first.
Because in Illustrator, it's not like you pay so much attention to layers.
Exactly.
You rarely pay attention to layers. So I learned Photoshop. I liked that I knew it, but while they gave me work, I would be learning on YouTube and all that.
I actually miss that. Where almost everything that comes to you is like, okay, I need to find a 20-minute YouTube tutorial that will allow me to figure this out. So that's how I also like learn fast. And also even like motion design as well. I'll be given to say, okay, make this motion video for this. So I was given the creative freedom. So I will start learning After Effects. If I have a challenge, I go to YouTube. How do you do this? So I find it that one to be very fast. Like same as like cameras. Like you can't learn a camera by just watching a video if you don't have the tool, the camera. It won't click because they'll be talking about aperture. And it's for you, it's just a word.
Yeah, just
until you take a picture and it's either too bright or too dark.
Too luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a very good word to learn. And I like the stuff that you post. Like you're always random on social media. It's like one day you're posting something in 3D, something is AI generated. Oh, I created this in Blender. I always love that. Like you never know what Mapaalo will be posting next.
Because I'm constantly just pursuing and that's the thing. It's either the decision was driven by how hard can it be or jealousy. So either I saw something and I was like, how hard can it be? Or I saw someone make something really good and I was like, how dare you? I will make something as well. And I just posted. It's helped. I don't think it's very healthy, but it's helped keep me constantly aware, and it's kept me from becoming one of those guys who think they're the best no matter what, and that you can't learn anything from anyone, because that jealousy constantly tells me that there's something you don't know. I will only feel jealous if I look at a technique and I'm just like, either I haven't perfected my technique to that level, and I should. Why haven't you perfected it to that level? That's why it stings so hard, and that's why the randomness. It's just, where's the dopamine coming from? Am I going to get it from recreating something? Am I going to get it from looking at what I saw and I'm doing something similar or better or in that line just so that I know I can do it? Or is it just I saw something, I was like, how hard can that be? Let me make something to see the problems that you would encounter if you're in the process of making something like that. And to be honest, I am a nerd for creativity. I just love consuming creative content. And when I'm done consuming it, I make it. That's the loop I'm constantly doing.
I think I also like that, because I think it's like you have this random idea and then you act on it. That's how I say it from the background. It's like you come up with this random idea, or you saw something and then immediately you take action and put it out there and post it. It's like you never think about it. And that's pretty cool, because some of us are like very perfectionistic. You want everything to be perfect. You have to make sure before you just post, you need to ensure that everything is so fine.
So I won't lie and say that I got over that, but I've done enough work to know that I've gotten to a point where that's not something that holds me back anymore, because that used to be me. I used to only want the best renders, the best things to go out. But what was it that I learned that I think it's just I realized that I was holding myself back quite a lot, because there were just people who were just doing things out there. Like, I'll give you an example of even Kangwa himself, Chizunga. Chizunga literally just said, I'm going to design a logo every day for the next year. That's a terrifying prospect for a person like me.
He's almost, has he reached
He finished it.
He finished it.
No, he clocked it. I don't even, what are you doing next, bro? Like, it's so good. Like, watching that, I was like, okay, how many logos do you design in the day for you to know that I'm going to post this one? Because for me, it would have to be the best logo that showcases my skills at their peak. But I think watching him work and other people work, I realized that sometimes it's just about doing it. And I also needed an excuse and a reason for what I do when I'm distracted, because half of what I post on my social media is what I was doing when I was distracted from the actual project I was working on. So I'm putting together a company profile, and there's moments where it gets boring. Font layout and image selection. There's so many opportunities for distractions. So when you're about to choose the font, as you're going through, you go online to look for a font, and then I'll probably see something nice that distracts me. I'll make something, and when I post it on social media, I know, okay, I've exercised that demon. I can now focus on the work and finish the job. Because also, like, I think it's momentum that I like to work off of as well, where when you start working on something, your success on that project helps the success of the next one, and the next one, and the one after that, and so on and so forth. So sometimes I'll follow that distraction, render something out really quickly, and the joy of putting out something that I wanted to make and build from scratch helps me then deal with the thing that the client is like, we want this color, want it to look like that, want it to look like that. When I make something where it's just for me, it's easier. So that distraction as well helps with that. So that's why it does seem random half the time. It's usually the opposite of what I'm working on. So if I'm working in 3D and I get distracted, there's a high likelihood I'll go generate something in AI. If I'm working on something that it's design and I need to generate a bunch of AI images, there's a high likelihood I'll go into a 3D project, do a quick render just to be like, oh, took a breather from that. That's how that usually works. So that's why it seems, because it is. It's mostly just very random.
I think I can relate to that, because sometimes when some projects, especially when they're taking like a lot of time, you need those moments. I feel guilty sometimes, but I think those are required now that I'm hearing it from you.
I don't
get distracted for a moment.
Anymore.
Like you went to look for an image and then you find something, you just say, this looks nice. This design looks nice. Can I also make it?
Have you ever looked for an abstract background? And this is what will happen. I'll be on Shutterstock and I'll be like, abstract background 3D for a presentation that I'm working on. And then I see a render and I'm like, I mean, those are just shapes. That's a torus, there's a triangle, there's an icosahedron here. Put them up, light them, color them. It won't take me more than an hour 30. And usually takes a little bit more than I anticipate. Like 2 hours later, I've got a render that was inspired by that thing. And that's that. How hard can it be, Gene? Because when I'm looking at the thing, I'm like, how hard can that be? And I explore it, and 2 hours later, I've got something, and I can easily now go back into that, knowing that I don't have that itch to scratch. So that's where all of these different executions and explorations come from.
So now let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Yes.
In the room.
Yes.
AI.
I'm about to be really controversial.
AI. It does come.
It's
But
here.
it was a joke when it came.
Yes.
And now it's here with us. AI can now generate almost anything that we can do.
Yes.
Do you think it's a threat to us as designers, creatives, or it's creating more opportunities for us?
I think I'd be obtuse if I assumed or even claimed that it's not a threat. There is an aspect of it that's a threat to every industry that it's touched, because AI isn't just coming after us as designers. It's coming after photographers. That's number one. These days, I've been contemplating canceling the Shutterstock subscription simply because AI-generated images are just that much more convenient. The reason I keep the Shutterstock subscription is because AI, like any tool, and forever, will not always be able, it won't fill in all the gaps. The AI, because it's a tool that creates more efficiencies in places where they weren't, will replace some people. So in that way, it is a threat, 100%. If your job is something repetitive and can be done with instructions from another person, and your thoughts do not matter to the final project of it, if you're not getting paid for your thoughts and how they shape something, then yes, AI will replace you 100%. But if your thoughts contribute to the overall existence of certain projects, activities, or artwork, then you have a bit of time. So I'd say it's a threat to a graphic designer in that the graphic designers, by definition, are people who convert briefs into creatives, and that's it. The reason we have art directors and creative directors is because now there's somebody whose job it is to think about that artwork and stuff like that. So for most designers, yes, it's going to replace a lot of us, because the thing that clients do, which is brief us and then get something generated, is what now everybody has the ability to do, including designers, which means while it's a threat, you can still be someone who benefits from it. It's like when Photoshop came through, I'm sure many sign painters were affected, because now instead of needing a guy who manages the paints, a guy who can actually draw, and maybe a guy who's really good with the fonts and stuff like that. Sometimes it was the same guy, but because of the process, now you can get done in minutes what would usually take days. Because before the sign painter does his sketch that he shows to the person to say this is what is going to be on your wall, no one knows what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
But these days with Photoshop, like once that came through, it was that much easier to say, we'll get this picture, and that picture, and we'll make it look like this picture. Is that okay for you?
Yeah.
Done. And the same thing is happening with us. We are the sign painters now. So the goal is, which sign painters knew how to use the computer? Because when those guys transferred over, their work was a lot easier because all that experience of knowing briefs, knowing what colors work best, how to combine that stuff, layout, things like that, it came easier to them because they had already been working on the tactile stuff. And it's something that I've learned in any field that I start like learning something on. Like when I started doing 3D, having someone who's a photographer and a videographer helped me greatly to master my lighting and things like that, because when you're using real world tactics in the software, it helps. And that's the same thing with AI. The same person who helped me figure out that if you use real world lighting in 3D, we will get better results, is the same person who said, I like that AI images are nice and whatever, but they all have the same finish. I would like them, if I were to generate as a photographer, I would like mine to have this kind of look, an almost unpolished look, so that I can then direct it to have its own look. So it's the same with us. Only those who start operating with AI are going to see it as not a threat, because those are the designers who work faster. They'll be able to generate concepts a lot easier. I had a client literally ask me the day before yesterday that I don't know how you did this, because when they came, they were like, we need a flyer for Friday. It's really urgent. You need to get it done. In fact, the question was, can you get it done? And I was like, I think I can. Let me give it a try. And I went to Midjourney, generated some images, got some elements, mixed them in, like did a Photoshop job where I got their logo, put it behind it was like for a fighting thingy. So there were athletes who were standing, and I got like a neon looking thing, put it behind them on top of something that I had already generated. What I generated, rubbed that out and replaced it with theirs, put the reflections, and it looked legit. Like almost like I went to a studio, set up people, and I shot the picture. But it was just AI, and I was able to do it in 3 hours, and they were baffled because of how quickly and how good it looked. So it is a threat, 100%, but only to those who are not going to start using it as a tool. Because the same clients who come to us, a lot of them don't want to learn Midjourney because they're too busy making sure that the business is turning a profit. So there will always be a need for someone who thinks creatively to prompt those things. You want to be that person.
Because again, if you're not a photographer and you don't understand the terms, it will be harder for that person who doesn't understand to create the look that they're looking for.
Exactly.
Because there are certain terms in design that someone who's doing business wouldn't understand, or someone who's doing finance wouldn't understand.
Exactly.
But if you as a designer can take your skills and use them and direct the AI image generator or video generator to do the stuff for you, it's very easy.
The results are that much better.
Even like the creative direction as well. If you're given a project, tell it to say, I want something which looks like this. You'll be able to get inspiration from
and you even know certain terms, like because you're educated in that field, you say, I want a Memphis design inspired poster. Now it knows. The client won't know Memphis design, even if they've seen it and that's what they want. They'll just be saying, I want with little geometric shapes and or scattered all over. And that will give them a different result.
Make it pop.
Make it pop.
Make it pop.
Until AI reaches a point where, for me again, which is I'm still excited for, because my stance with AI has been on the more controversial side of it, because I had the privilege of knowing about it before it showed up. There's a channel on YouTube that I follow called 2 Minute Papers, and what that guy literally is constantly looking at is the future of where tech is taking us. And surprisingly, he focused a lot on AI developments back in 2018 when I first was introduced to that channel. So he spoke about AI image generation because he had been talking about an AI that could identify images. And then he was like, you remember that AI that could identify images? They just figured out that you could reverse it. Instead of identifying an image and it gives you a description, you can give it a description and it would generate an image. And I was like, wow, this is coming. So when it showed up, I was very excited. Because for me, tech has always been just that thing that fascinates me. I've always loved what it can do and how it helps us work faster, think faster. So I had the privilege of seeing it. So when it dropped, I even remember at the office, I was like, guys, DALL-E has just dropped. We need to prompt it. And the results were horrible the first time.
Yeah, oh my God. I remember the first.
Very bad.
It was so bad.
They were very bad. And someone was like, this is not going to pick up. And I was like, but think about it. If this is what we're seeing on launch, what are you going to see next year?
Yeah.
And for real, a few months later, they announced Mid-Journey, and it was the best thing that happened to AI image generation. It's about to be dethroned, but you've seen where it's reached now. You can barely tell. We were working with a client last year that had no AI image generation policy, and the funny thing is, despite having that policy and being like, we will never allow any AI work, what started happening is they would now look at real images and say, is that AI generated? And for me, all that said was, yes, you have this policy, but what you're telling me is it's becoming harder and harder for you to enforce it. Because if you can't tell what's AI, it means I can sneak in AI. Yeah. I didn't sneak in any AI, but what that meant is it's reached a point where it's indistinguishable. I mean, it will get to that point where now even our jobs, like even as an art director and whatnot, but I still think that there will always be room for those who learn to adapt with the new tools that show up. I feel bad for the creatives and artists, obviously, whose work was used to train this stuff.
Yeah.
But capitalism has said that this thing is staying, and until that system, and for as long as that system is in place, the only thing we can do is learn how to use it. That's it. So it is a threat, but it's a threat you can adapt to and build on and increase the level of skills that you have so that you are able to do more. I wouldn't just say, no, it's bad and let's avoid it and whatnot, because all I'll be doing is just telling people to stay stuck in the past, which that doesn't even gel well with my overall brand as a human being. Yeah.
It goes also back to the time when calculators were invented and then the phone came up. Now you have everything on your phone.
Now you have everything on your phone.
Yeah.
The phone is doing what most cameramen used to do, because if you have an event and you want pictures of that event, there'd be a photographer there. If you wanted a radio, you'd have to buy a separate thing. But the phone still exists. But does that mean we don't have radios? We still have radios. Yes, they've gone down in terms of how we use them, but that's because most radio hosts have started podcasts. But the thing that I always appreciate about technologies like this is they democratize. Like in Zambia, for us to have this conversation with the audience that you have, the number of people that you'd have had, the only place we'd have been able to do this at was ZNBC.
Yeah, that's it.
But because of these tools, Mwaka Souza is able to set up the Duwit podcast because it gives power in everybody's hands. And for me, I've always been a fan because I'm a nerd for creative stuff. I like seeing what other people are doing because of that. How hard can it be? I need more sources of creativity around me so that I can really now say, because right now, the biggest barrier is if you want to be creative, you have to learn the creative software and the creative rules, and then start developing your own voice. But what tools like this do is everyone has a voice, and it just reduces the things between your thinking and the execution. And for me, that's always a win. The more creative people who are actually creative we have making creative things, the more creative we will become as a whole. And for me, that's why I will always cheer on the development of tools like this. I will always be a champion for tools like this because Photoshop gave me an opportunity to showcase myself as a creative person. I'm not very good with illustrations.
Drawing.
I'm not very good at mixing paints, which was a skill you would have had to have if you were a sign painter. But thanks to just my general desire and interest in computers, I now have a career that feeds my family, that takes care of me, of my bills, simply because it put the power in my hands. And you now have an audience of people who are excited to listen to who are you going to talk to next, instead of tuning into Open Line on a Sunday. So that's for me, that's the biggest plus. That's on the other side of the coin that I mentioned, where yes, AI is bad. The other side of it is, look at how many more creative people are going to have. Unless you are so insecure about your place in any industry, something like this that will give more people the power to do what you do shouldn't scare you, because it's all this. And even with the limitations of AI that we've learned, in that AI cannot do what we do, where because I see art, I can generate more art. AI can only see art from humans to generate more art by machines. So there will always be that limitation where it ends. So it will still need this to function. So for as long as you have this and you take care of it and it's good, it comes up with decent ideas for the market that you exist in, I don't think you should be afraid of AI. You will always have work, because even using the same AI tools as a creative will give you better results than if your client did it, who is not as creative, who hasn't dealt with what you've dealt with as much as you have. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah. No, I use it all the time. It makes my work very easy.
Dude, presentations with ChatGPT, like you and like now, because I even pay for it, is I just talk to it.
Yeah.
Like I'll be like, okay, so this is the presentation we're going to do. These are the things I want us to focus on. We're going to talk about their problem. We're going to talk about the challenges they are facing, how we are going to specifically deal with them, what we will need, and how long it's going to take for them to see a difference between what's happening now and how our involvement is changing the situation. And then ChatGPT just takes that and says, okay, here, the way you phrased it doesn't come out as strongly as if you've said it like this. And I'll look at it and say, either yes or no.
Yeah.
I agree with that, or this doesn't work in the Zambian context. I want it exactly how I said it. Or yeah, that's actually going to come out a lot better. It's like predictive writing, where it gives you a correction to say, hey, did you mean to say hi instead of QY? You know what I mean? And once you do that, it speeds up your process. Now, things that would, a presentation, because that was the most boring aspect of my job.
Yeah.
You design your logo, but now you have to communicate your thinking to the client. Why did you pick the colors you picked? Why does the logo look the way it looks? What emotion are you trying to evoke with these colors and the combination of these elements? So I'd spend so much time finding what's the right way to say that blue is a color mostly associated with calmness, a feeling of like a corporate vibe, and something that is strong and firm. How do you communicate that? I already know what that means, but how do I then communicate it to the client
so that they understand it? Yeah,
it hits harder. So thanks to ChatGPT, I'm now a copywriter and a designer. You know what I mean?
Makes your work easy.
It doesn't mean I don't work with copywriters. I'm constantly working with copywriters, because ChatGPT does not know what a copywriter who was born and raised in Zambia knows about Zambia and the Zambian populace. So if I ask ChatGPT to give me headlines for a campaign, it will use the training data, which is from America, to give me results. But I still need a copywriter to come in and then say, yeah, here the best term will actually be Aurora Balusaka. That would be the phrase. I mean, ChatGPT will try, but it won't. It's not at the place where it can do that, and that's just the beauty of these tools. So yeah, it's a threat, but it's mostly going to give us a lot of wonderful new opportunity.
This is called Duwit.
Okay,
it means we do it here.
We do things.
We don't just talk about things. Yeah, so we put that into practice. So for our project breakdown, they're going to teach us on how to create images using AI. So we're just going to maybe look at the tools that you use and how to go about the process of creating different images for the work that you're doing.
That actually sounds fun.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Sure. Okay, so the only tool that I know won't require logging in from my end is Image FX.
Okay.
I think it's getting to a point where this is better than Mid Journey in terms of just text to image generation. Like the results seem more like much closer to what you typed in on Image FX than Mid Journey. Mid Journey, you need to start coordinating, changing things and stuff like that. So, if the internet, I'll just break down what should be in a prompt, in any prompt, so that it's not something very specific, because sometimes people will just follow that specific thing. But what you want to do first is describe the thing that you want. So the first line should be, what is it that I am making? Is it a photo? Is it an illustration? Is it a clay render, or is it a 3D render? So you want to first say this thing, photo of illustration, and there's different styles. So when you're generating these things, if you're already in the creative space, your vocabulary is already pretty decent in terms of what you can put in there, where you can say clay installation, or clay art, or clay render of this. And then the next important thing, once you've established what it is you want to create, whether it's a photo, an illustration, or a 3D render, it's the thing itself. So describing it first helps the AI know what the focal object is. In photography, you have a subject. So the first thing you say after defining what medium it's going to sit in allows that thing to be the focal object. If you say an MMA cage in the middle of a dark warehouse, the MMA cage will be at the center. But if you say a dark warehouse with an MMA cage, that MMA cage can show up in the background. It can show up wherever you want. So for more control, the thing you want to be your subject should be the next thing you define. So if we had started with a photo of, and then the subject is a black man, we say a photo of a black man. And you have to understand that there's a difference between black and African. So black man is what... So AI has borrowed a lot of our prejudices, which is why we need to be a lot more careful. I really wish there was a lot more conversation around what rules we're creating for AI and the usage of it. But it has borrowed a lot of our biases. So because of it, black man and African man give you different results. So if you want a clean looking, and this is not me, okay? this is the bias that is built into the AI while training. It's our creation. It was created in our image. So a lot of the flaws we have, it also has. So according to the AI, black man is a cleaner looking person than African man. If this is the moment that Google...
Wait, what? Can you repeat that?
African man will get you a dirtier looking, a more rural result.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I've also
African
noticed that, because I'm always using African.
Yes.
Oh,
if you say African man, even the dress code will be very different.
Yeah, like it's dirty. Like I was trying to generate an image of a farmer, and every time it would be like removing an old man with like dirty clothes.
Very dirty, very shiny. No, if you say black man standing on his farm, he'll be cleaner. He'll be dungarees, straw hat. He'll look great. So let's say a black man.
Image FX sometimes restricts some terms. I don't know if you know this yet.
And most times when I use the word African, it will restrict, because it's been told that there are certain offensive images. So anything to do with hunger, disease,
even children. Children doesn't. Yeah.
It will just say no. And unfortunately, Image FX will just be like, there's nothing for you to see. It won't tell you exactly what the problem is. Be like, oh, it broke our rules. So the black man standing Oh, so you describe the thing, the subject, and then you have to describe what they're doing. This is the next part, is what they're doing, what they're wearing, and then we'll move on to where they are. So standing, like this black man, in fact, you've given me an idea for a prompt, so we're going to do that farm, I think. Wearing, let's pretend this brand is purple. Purple coveralls. So the language you're using as well, most of the AI data is trained, was trained in America. So you have to use American terms.
No.
So there's phrases we use. We have dungarees, we have overalls, we have what's this. But you have to, like, I've found that I get much more closer results to what I want when I use American phrasing and when I think like an American when typing. When I'm thinking like an American, a lot of the results come out better. So when I'm doing NGO work, I say African man. When I'm doing corporate work, I say black man.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Purple coveralls and a straw hat. You can put a comma or a full stop overlooking a golden maize field. So that's the place. So it's a photo of subject dressed in this, because this is where after you say the subject, that's your chance to define what they are wearing, and then what they're doing and where they're doing it. So overlooking a golden maize field on a sunny African afternoon while sipping on a refreshing cool beer. I'll put a full stop and then just say cinematic lighting, because I want this to look good. Cinematic composition. If it was Mid-Journey, I would have gone into a lot more detail about the camera we are using and whatnot, but Google is fairly decent. Cinematic lighting, cinematic composition, shot on a large format camera. I say large format camera because...
So even like also the aspect ratio as well. I think
aspect ratio. Yeah.
Good. 16 by 9.
So 16 by 9 is fine. It works best with the square.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so what it does when you extend the ratio in this side, in the wide format 16 by 9, it will, how it works is it will generate 2 squares. So that's how, if you do a wide, you find that it generated what you wanted here. And then there's just some random ghost alien mutant sitting in the corner confusing or a double of what you did. It's because it does one square and then the next square.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's that as well. I'll do a square because that's the best that it generates. There's little things you can add here, but I think for my composition, because I really want it to be simple and easy to follow, so it's just a photo, that's the medium. I want this to be a picture, not a drawing or a 3D render of a black man wearing purple coveralls. So black man is the subject, wearing purple coveralls. You know what? Let me just say black man with golden dreadlocks, because I need to make sure my people are represented. Golden dreadlocks with dark roots growing in, wearing purple coveralls. I'm putting a comma because those technically don't mean anything to the thing. And let's generate. So there's things like seed, which locks in the look. For as long as you have this seed number, the results will look very similar to what you're going for. Best quality because you want the highest quality. Aspect ratio, you change depending on that. Just remember that thing I said. If you're going like that, it will do a square and a square. If you're doing like that, you'll do a square and a square. So depending on your prompt, you might get results you don't like in places you don't. This one's a much better one. I'm talking about other alternatives. I used to experience this, especially with Leonardo AI, where it would just have like a different thingy. And honestly, just practicing in AI it will get you a lot further. And if the AI tool has what's like a gallery where other people put their prompts. The easiest thing you can do, is look at the image you like, look at how the prompt was built, and then reverse engineer it. That's the easiest. That's the only reason I'm still paying for Midjourney is ImageFX doesn't have a upload image and then it like describes. It doesn't have a describe feature. Because with the describe feature, the AI is literally teaching you how to reverse engineer images because you look at how it broke down the prompt and then you can slowly build it back up. Yeah. Oh, there he is. There he is.
Nice.
Yeah. So we have him resting there with the purple coveralls.
Wow, this is good.
Yeah.
So you didn't describe the type, the season or the stage the maize is at. So it comes
just
up with something.
I did say golden, so that was my initial intention. Is that time when you are just about to harvest it?
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, so it gave me dry maize. The thing that I didn't describe was the exact. I think I chose the wrong time because I said the sunny African afternoon. You don't want to be taking, and I didn't even spell that correctly. You don't want to be taking a picture in a sunny African afternoon. So let's say sunny on a beautiful African evening while sipping on a refreshing beer. Yeah, let's switch it up. Yeah, so also understanding the time of day of when your hypothetical shot is happening. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, this looks better.
Yeah, that's a much better shot. So we've got him in a glass, just how I wanted. But it's still giving us the can, which I like the results.
Yeah, this is good. This is way better than the previous ones.
And the previous ones. I mean, look at that.
Look at that.
He's enjoying his nice whatnot. So
and this looks so real. Like the background looks so real when you look at that. Yeah.
It's very like AI has been on a scary bend lately, especially with the videos. Videos is where now, for the first time, when I saw video, that's when I was like, and not because of its capability. The fact that I can now make a movie is thank goodness for AI video generation.
Yeah.
The thing that scares me is it's now just that much easier to have a court case dismissed for you to get in trouble. Imagine I post a video of you literally leaving my house with a TV and I post it on Z Kawalala. And I say, the guy on the Duwit podcast stole my TV. I've got 500. In fact, I've got 50 kwacha for anyone who sees him. And because you don't know what's happening, this thing is going viral online. By the time it reaches you, there's a high likelihood you would have already been nabbed by things. So that's the only thing that I'm scared of with video. Image wasn't so bad because I can always tell. And luckily video, it'll be a while before it gets this good.
Yeah.
But when it does, we are cooked. But I do like the realism of it all. It's very, very like at first glance you won't be able to tell. You have to really start digging to find what's wrong with the image and say, okay, this is an image generated picture. And because of it, I am grateful because there's a lot more creatives that now can enjoy good high quality stock photography and direction. Without necessarily having to fork over the price.
Mapaalo, thanks for that project breakdown.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that we had to get our hands dirty and learn how to prompt proper images. Now, even as we close, what are you working on? Anything upcoming or it's still...
I'm working on a few things. I don't know how many of them I can talk about because the nature of our work usually requires discretion. But the biggest thing I'd say I'm working on right now is Stormbox, my company. I'm finally giving it the focus that it desires. And for our clients, they're going to see what that looks like this year, finally, to see like when both the founders are going at it 100%. We've been blessed to have a very good team. Shout out Kenny. shout out Oscar Miller, beasts of their own right. Those are the guys that have been helping us keep the lights on. So with the team that we currently have, I think we've created a very nice team of Avengers. Everyone who has a very specific but complementary skill set with the other person that helps us generate the best content. So it's a lot of Stormbox. We'll be serving our old clients and securing new clients this year. Then there's on the personal side, part of the reason I also wanted to focus more on the business is to have that extra time with my son, who is starting school this year. He's starting tomorrow, actually, as of the recording.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I want to spend more time with him and be a dad and stuff like that. So that's what I'm working on and what I'm working on next.
Yeah. No, thank you so much, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Pick one. Where can people find you?
I am on Facebook, Mapaalo Musonda /Stormbox. I am on Instagram, Mapaalo Musonda /Stormbox, I think, as well there. I am on X as Mapaalo Musonda as well there. I am on Behance. That's www.behance.net/Stormbox. And I am also out in the streets, but you will most likely bump into me on Facebook, because I don't like leaving the house unless I'm meeting a client, making money, or getting groceries. Outside of that, you will not catch me walking about Lusaka for no other reason out of those three. Yeah.
All right, man. This was a really great conversation. I enjoyed it to just talk about the stuff that we love to do. And it's an honor to have talk to you. Yeah, no, if this podcast didn't have the time limit, would have been here for the next 6 hours. So I'm always happy to talk about like creative stuff and contribute any way I can, because a platform like this is very important for the industry, because there's a lot of things that are being discussed on platforms such as your Duwit podcast, where a lot of things that some people take for granted will come out, and a person like myself will learn something. Like when I was listening to the one you did with Dickens, where I was talking about his regrets, I was like, oh, okay, that's an interesting way to look at it, because if you've made your choices, you should have very few regrets in your life. That was a beautiful way to look at it, because sometimes we tend to become victims in stories that we are writing the story, but you're writing yourself as a victim. So it's good to have platforms like this. You get to learn a lot, and I hope in this one someone will have picked up that African man and black man are different if you're prompting an image on AI. And that's something that I usually take for granted, but you were like, wait, what? That's the difference? So I'm always using African.
So I am happy to have been here. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, man. Thanks for coming through. I hope we have this conversation again.
We will.
Talk about more creative stuff.
But Kangwa first.
Yeah, Kangwa. The invitation. All right, man. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, bro.